Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on Episode 5 of the anime series Log Horizon 2. What an interesting episode it was. Following on from the previous episode, of course, with this serial killer still making the rounds in Akibahara, Emhart, and Elreth. And it's quite intriguing and pleasantly surprising, I might add, that characters like Kyoko and all of those being unwitting victims to this sort of PKer are actually still respawning. I had, suspected perhaps that Kyoko had been out and out killed, and I was glad to find that that's not the case. There is going to be a period, for her own guild where they're going to make her sort of not go out on journeys and not go out on battles and that kind of thing. Give her a rest period sort of to recuperate from just the shock of being attacked like this. And it's quite intriguing how, there's a level of discussion between Nyanta and Toya at one point in the episode that I find absolutely fascinating in the psychology of being in this world where you're semi-immortal and, you're becoming complacent and used to the idea that no matter how risky you get with yourself, you'll never fully be killed. Now, of course, there's that mythology, that sort of rumorville idea that Shiro has contemplated since the first season about those losing their lives and becoming respawned back at sort of the safety healing zones and everything like that, that their memories could be becoming manipulated or could be dissolving and fading away with every subsequent respawn and killing and everything like that. And even if that's not the case, the ramifications on the psychology just briefly hinted at and touched upon by Nyanta's words, in that complacency, in that accepting the idea that you could pretty much do anything and never have to worry about being fully killed, there's something in the humanity, in the human psychology, and the mentality of how you conduct yourself, what you're willing to do, and everything like that, that you lose, that gets lost in translation. And I hope that we delve a little bit more into that. But, it is a fascinating thing to contemplate as the story unfolds. Of course, Akatsuki, as we see in this episode, very much wants to utilize this serial killer's going around and doing these attacks, carrying out these attacks, to this whole pursuit of strength that she hopes and wishes to attain to get sort of reconciliation between her and Shiro and everything like that, even going to the lengths of eavesdropping on Lanessia and overhearing from one of the Kuni clan who visits Lanessia that, in fact, this revelation is somewhat shocking, I would have to say. And one of my viewers actually posted a comment on my previous episode coverage talking about they noticed certain aspects of this killer Emhart and Elreth's outfit. It looked kind of like the warrior armor. They're talking about these warriors who are supposed to stop battles within safety zones in cities like this that aren't showing up when this guy goes on the attack. And he seems to be wearing armor very reminiscent to that. Lo and behold, do we find out from the Kuni clan member that not only is this guy one of those warriors, but he stole effectively one of these armor suits, which is powered by a magic underlaying grid underneath the city. And he's keeping hidden, probably in the sewers, basically Akatsuki suspects, because he can't leave the city, thus he'll be depowered, the magic that fuels his suit and all that kind of stuff. So the ramifications potentially from this between the people of the land, because essentially this guy is a person of the land, and, the adventurers, the human beings in this environment, a war could be sparked from this, from the relationships of these characters that are already on uneasy footing. As we've seen, it's been very sort of gradual, this process of accepting and trying to understand each other. Lanessia herself, in a previous episode just in this season, confessed to not understanding, the adventurers, the way they think, the way they carry and conduct themselves, the way they behave. So it's potentially, stacked with the chips against our heroes as this guy continues doing what he's doing. But Akatsuki, very interestingly, is not the only one looking for this guy. Of course, we see Sojiro is very much obsessed, without sort of the guidance of Shiro and another one of his mentorish characters. He very much wants vengeance. He's seething. He's got, this nice personality, as some of his contemporaries within his guild are talking about, Kyoko being one of them, on her respite. They're basically observing the fact that he's a somewhat gentle, friendly guy with the people of his guild, but he's not so friendly that he doesn't have a dark side, something I can relate to. He's got this sort of shady look that comes across his face of determination and just wanting to kick all ass possible at contemplating what this guy has done to some of his guild members and what he's continuing to do all around Akibahara, and having to kind of be one of the chiefs, if you will, that are still within the town. Krusty's off one way with the goblin hordes, and you got Shiro and all of the people with him dealing with this whole raid and everything like that, looking for the wealth and whatever that all is going to amount to. So Sujiro's really kind of the top dog, aside from Akatsuki, maybe, potentially, who can seek out this guy. And they're sending out sort of parties to investigate overnight, try to pin him down, find this guy. And because of that magic that imbues his armor, he's untouchable. He, even the strongest of the adventurers can't really make a mark on this guy's hit point percentages and everything like that, as very cruelly and very willingly Sujiro and Akatsuki find out when they finally band together. There's this point where Sujiro has encountered this guy and he's just trying to do all these different kinds of attacks, and because this episode is unfolding on Christmas Eve and we see Akatsuki coming in just at that pitch moment, she's been sort of looking around town and she overhears Sujiro's name being called very loudly and worriedly by one of his guild members, and she basically turns her attention to this, and at a pinnacle moment with Emhart basically going to strike Sujiro, she interphases herself right in between that crushing blow and fends off the attack. And so thus, from that point on, we see Sujiro and Akatsuki trying to make a play for this guy, using all of the abilities they have at their peak of their talents. And it's very intriguing, thus, that Christmas Eve comes into play. After Sujiro has basically told his guild members to get the hell out of there, go home, be safe and everything like that, he'll handle it from here kind of situation, you have him basically saying, as a gift to my mentor's sidekick here, I've got to do something. And he unleashes the power he has attained through the teachings. We actually have confirmation that this is a real legit thing, to the nth degree, the absolute highest, most attainable power utilized. And he almost has like a ghostly summon that comes forth when he goes full-on teachings, whatever, I forget exactly what his teaching level is called, but he unleashes this on Emhart Nelrith, and to almost entirely no avail, but it was enough for him to share to Akatsuki how to call this power forth. With all your focus, with all your wish, use your determination on what needs to be done, and these are the limit of what he can say about the teachings. And of course, Akatsuki is left kind of still bewildered. What exactly does that mean? Kind of questioning. But she makes her final strike against Emhart Nelrith. And of course, as we see, both she and Sujiro have unfortunately been bested by this bastardized person of the land who's taken it upon himself with a very strange blade. They called attention, by the way, to this particular katana blade that seems to be seething of smoke. Maybe it's imbued with some kind of power, otherworldly or not, remains to be seen, with all the mysteries still set upon this world, its origins, how it functions, and we're still being told little by little as every episode goes forward, aspects of the MMORPG side of the story and the world that they find themselves in, but there are still mysteries, and I don't know if this blade plays into his power or not, or if it's strictly and solely the magic grid that fuels his armor, but effectively he, walking off chuckling and laughing at what he has basically done to Sujiro and Akatsuki, Akatsuki being the last left to respawn and manifest elsewhere. Just before she does so, he's like, I've heard you adventurers saying on a day like today, Merry Christmas. And this was his very malevolent way of basically having the last laugh. And so, of course, you have Shiro off at this raid. He's familiar with this killer. You have the people of the Round Table who are still in town, concerned about what exactly they're going to do, and they wanted to get all the kids out of town and all this kind of stuff. But, of course, what is the next move? How are they going to make a move against such a powerful foe, especially especially given the fact that as, the Kuni clan representative told Lanessia and Akatsuki overheard, the only means by which to depower this guy would be to shut down the grid, and then it would take simply decades for this power to be turned back on again, and all that kind of stuff. Pitched once again on the edge of my seat. Odd, and I can't wait. I'm very curious to see where we go from here. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this episode if you've seen it. Otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.